Damn it, Bobby, this just ain't right.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Bobby G. We got a quick little video from Swiss County. This one's called The Real Reason Seattle Lost to SuperSonics. Let's see what it's got.
Basketball Club of Seattle has entered into an agreement with the Professional Basketball Club LLC to purchase the Seattle SuperSonics at Seattle store.
State Capitol looked more like Key Arena today.
Hey, bring back the Sonics. Bring back the SuperSonics.
On April 17th, the NBA Board of Governors will meet, and they and 29 other owners will officially vote on Bennett's recommendation to move the Sonics to Oklahoma City.
The NBA will be in Oklahoma City next season.
So, after 41 years of basketball in Seattle, the Sonics are packing up the truck and heading to Oklahoma City.
Bring back Seattle.
The Seattle SuperSonics are typically known as a special relic of the past in a city that's in desperate need of a reboot. The business of the NBA can be very harsh sometimes, but there's something a little more harsh about this one, as the Seattle SuperSonics weren't a forgotten team like the Vancouver Grizzlies. Seattle fought tooth and nail to bring their guys home, and with a future as bright as ever, with the young Kevin Durant, Jeff...
Yeah, because think about, like, I was gonna say the Charlotte Bobcats, but I'm pretty sure they're still in Charlotte. Let me stop yapping.
Green, Serge Ibaka, and Russell Westbrook. The talent wasn't the issue either. To lose a team with a 41-year legacy in a metro as large as Seattle is at the bare minimum controversial, and what some would call corrupted. With a past as historically significant as the Sonics, what led to the most infamous relocation in NBA history may be even worse. Subscribe. Enacted in 19...
Quick question. Who was before the Pelicans? It was the Hornets, right? Or am I tripping?
67, the Seattle SuperSonics have certainly been around the block and created a plethora of memories in the meantime. At one point in history, Seattle was truly the face of basketball. #1 in attendance and actually setting the attendance record for a single game in their run in the early 80s. The fans adored their guys, and for good reason. With the likes of Jack Sikma dominating the post with supporting help of Gus Williams and Dennis Johnson, they were one of the most entertaining teams, especially for an era that's known as a down period for the league as a whole. At a time where fan support was at an all-time high in Seattle, the team needed to move out of their Seattle Coliseum, which had housed them since their inception, and into the Kingdome, where they would share the stadium in the winter months with the Seahawks and the Mariners. In a stadium definitely not built for basketball, the Sonics would see some ridiculous turnouts. After their 1979 championship win, including a record-setting 39,000 people in 1980. After this run, however, the team would see a stretch of down years, resulting in them moving back to the Coliseum in 1985. And this is where the SuperSonics show really began to take off. After the 1989 selection of Shawn Kemp and 1990 selection of Gary Payton, the SuperSonics were pretty quickly an all-time team. Packed houses every night, accessories, jersey sales, the SuperSonics were hot, and this likely backed a 1995 remodel of the now rebranded Key Arena that housed the 64-win finals run team. At this point in time, the Sonics were just about as good as anyone of the era, not named the Chicago Bulls. And if they weren't playing against literally the best team of all time up to this point, the 1996 Sonics would have been known as one of the best teams of all time. With a newly renovated Key Arena with its own very unique feel, the stadium was a tough one to play at, with the fans that rode for the boys as hard as anyone. And with tight corners of the stadium due to the 1960s construction, despite having the smallest seating capacity in the NBA, this was quite the home court advantage. But as they reached the top, it wasn't long until they...
Bro, I'm gonna go and play as the Seattle SuperSonics after this, bro. Just because of this video, bro. I miss the Seattle SuperSonics. In the future, I'm gonna buy me a Kevin Durant or a Ray Allen Seattle SuperSonics jersey, bro. I need one.
They fumbled what could have been. Poor financial decisions, including the overpayment of center Jim McIlvaine, led to Shawn Kemp not getting his payday and crushing his relationship with the team. Displaying little patience, Kemp was requesting a ticket out of Seattle, and without the Rain Man, the Sonics lacked the firepower that they once had. Throughout the upcoming down years, longtime owner Barry Ackerley would choose to sell the SuperSonics in 2001, giving the keys to the team to Mr. Starbucks Howard Schultz, a CEO from the Seattle area, and let's just say he was definitely not the popular kid in class. as Vin Baker and Gary Payton made it clear that there was a lack of respect for where Schultz's head was at. Although basketball is a business, Schultz may have been a little bit too business-oriented for the liking of the players, looking to cut costs, including players' salaries whenever possible, if it meant maximizing his own returns, and this definitely fueled his back-and-forth beef with Gary Payton that led to his departure from the team. Despite actually getting a really good return from the Bucks in the Gary Payton trade, the Sonics still sucked big time, failing to make the playoffs for their first 2 years with their new star.
Bro, they had Gordon Hayward.
And Ray Allen. This period was very bad for the Sonics as a business, despite Schultz's efforts, and started what would become a back-and-forth drama for quite some time. Nearing 10 years withdrawn from Key Arena's remodel, Schultz began complaining on the quality of the arena as an income-producing venue. The 1960s construction certainly was deficient in many ways. At 368,000 square foot of rentable area, it lacked greatly compared to the 750,000 NBA average. And with a shitty team, a lack of...
Bro, that shit is supposed to average at 750,000? They're like 400,000 square feet off. That is crazy.
The 750,000 NBA average. And with a shitty team, a lack of seating, and an aged arena, the Sonics were burning cash pretty quickly. In 2006, Schultz launched a full campaign asking for $220 million for a Key Arena remodel with the help of David Stern, since at the current condition, even with full capacity, the Sonics couldn't have possibly turned a profit. And being $60 million in the red in 5 years, that definitely sucked, I'd imagine. Despite this, the city did not seem too interested in forking out a boatload of cash after dumping $80 million into Key Arena 10 years prior, $340 million in public tax money for Safeco Field that same year, and $300 million in tax money for Quest Field right after that. In the eyes of the Sonics, they were not being put in a position to operate a business successfully, but in the eyes of Seattle, they were just asking for too much. David Stern made it known to the city that Key Arena is not a state-of-the-art facility, and was known to threaten relocation to get what he wants, which he certainly pulled here. Regardless, the city was definitely not going to budge at this time, denying to renegotiate lease terms and actually passing a bill centric on not allowing for the construction of sports stadiums that serve as a net loss to the public, and through further research is essentially all sports stadiums. Constructing arenas is a hefty load on taxpayers, and the cash-on-cash return is really just not there at all. The less than community element of having an NBA team attracts cities more so than the monetary return.
Damn, so we all paying for that. So we're paying for the Cardinal Stadium right now. I'm paying for the Suns Stadium right now. I'm paying for Bradley Beal to go out there and go 0 for 5, 0 for 7. Nice to know.
To the city, and at this time, Seattle More Important Things movement advocated for funding of sports arenas to be provided by those who profit off of them. With little opportunity to profit in their current scenario, the current ownership was left scrambling for answers. With a board of 9 people, the Schultz team pulled the trigger, selling the team for quite the ludicrous price point, netting $150 million in profit after acting as the Sonics owner for a quick 5-year span. In many ways, this kinda didn't make sense. Valued at $234 million, a 9-figure price difference was quite suspicious for ownership of a franchise actively losing money and actively ruining their public relations with their own city leaders. It was made even more unusual when taking into account that the primary contact through the transaction, a mutual friend of the Sonics ownership, backed out of the transaction and brought in Clay Bennett to head the transaction. Despite Schultz claiming that this sale would be placing Seattle in a better position to keep their team for the long run, his intentions with this deal up to this date are completely unknown.
It's fucked up.
All we know for sure is that with $350 million payday, it wasn't the hardest of goodbyes for him. With Clay Bennett committing to giving his full attention to getting a new stadium for a calendar year, it's safe to say he didn't have too many people convinced. As a former San Antonio Spurs minority owner, the Oklahoma City businessman had already made some moves in the NBA. After investing his wife's family fortune to buy his way into the league, Bennett began building connections with the boss, connecting the New Orleans Hornets with Oklahoma City after the damage from Hurricane Katrina made it impossible to play there. With confusion all around, the direction of the Sonics was entirely up in the air. But regardless, Bennett was held to his obligation to campaign to Seattle to the fullest of his abilities. Well, kind of. Proposing the most expensive stadium in the NBA to a city set on lowering spending on amenities like sports was kinda stupid, and putting it in a poor area 24 miles south of Seattle without ever committing to his own investment showed that Bennett and his team weren't looking to stick any shovels in the dirt. To deny the intentions of Bennett at this time, at least being a bit misleading, would definitely be delusional. Especially when 5 months prior to the sale, Bennett was on record saying we are acutely interested and very focused on bringing a team to Oklahoma City. Within the year of Bennett's obligation to the city, the team was anything but invested, losing Lenny Wilkins and letting go assistant coaches Jack Sitma and Detlef Schrempf started to remove the ties to the city, dropping 3 Sonic legends that kept the sense of community intact for all these years. Despite drafting Kevin Durant in 2007, the Sonics were doing anything but promoting their very young and exciting talent. Jeff Green and KD really didn't see the limelight in any media appearances.
KD for 3, young Kevin Durant. Young Kevin Durantula. That is crazy,
likely to drive down attendance, really doing
Did Russ ever play in a Sonics uniform?
anything but walking the door. Filing for arbitration at this time to be removed from their lease obligations before expiring in 2010 showed that Bennett was ready to get a move on as soon as possible, since no construction was underway anytime soon, even with a $300 million renovation proposed by the mayor being shut down by the city officials. And at the end of this season, Bennett exercised his option of relocating the Seattle SuperSonics just like that. With a 28-2 vote, the only thing holding the SuperSonics in place was Seattle itself, as through a storm of Save Our Sonics rallies and year-long Bennett Sucks chants, the mayor of Seattle launched a lawsuit in a last-ditch effort to legally enforce their lease agreement. And after emails leaked of Clay Bennett admitting to his partners that he's a man possessed to get Oklahoma their team, former owner Howard Schultz even hopped in his own lawsuit against Bennett, not holding up to his end of the bargain to the city of Seattle. In just 1 year span, the Seattle SuperSonics were essentially hanging on by a thread, with the only chance being a court battle against Bennett's legal team. The mayor of Seattle did seem invested in keeping the long-tenured franchise back home, with counter-arguments.
Why does this dude fucking love Oklahoma so much? Damn.
Criticizing the mayor's lack of attendance at games, Seattle did seem to have a decent case to keep their home team at least here until 2010. But as all great politicians do, the second money was on the table, the case was settled with a $75 million buyout, letting the SuperSonics walk out of Seattle without a court ruling ever being given. With the Oklahoma move finalized...
What? Without a court hearing? What?
This was settled with a $75 million buyout, letting the SuperSonics walk out of Seattle without a court ruling ever being given. With the Oklahoma move finalized, Schultz dropped his case, which likely was only there to take some heat off his back as well, and Bennett and his partners at Chesapeake Energy were now watching...
Bro, the former owners filed a lawsuit against the new owner? Holy shit, bro. Where was I at during this time? I think I was in kindergarten. I wish I was like more aware enough to be able to see all this drama, bro. Holy shit, that is crazy.
His back as well, and Bennett and his partners at Chesapeake Energy were now watching Thunder games in the Chesapeake Energy Arena. With a fan base still at loss of their once loved franchise, massive protests.
So when was OKC's first year? 09, 08, or 09, or 2010?
Rallies really did little to swing a dealing, which was strictly business. Bennett and his team stole a franchise for his hometown. The NBA got their stadium in OKC with far more retail revenue generators than the suburban Key Arena, and the city of Seattle's leaders didn't have to split a check with anyone in the meantime. I guess in business there's a loser.
I guess honestly the only thing that Seattle SuperSonics the only thing they have on the Thunder is the nostalgia. And the uniforms are definitely cleaner for show. But I mean, as far as revenue and, you know, yeah, as far as honestly revenue and team success, I think they're about the same, right? Because OKC made it to a finals one season. They didn't win it all, but that was crazy though.
Raiders than the suburban Key Arena, and the city of Seattle's leaders didn't have to split a check with anyone in the meantime. I guess in business there's a loser for every win, and a fan base that was crushed was a small price to pay for the small group that profited from their loss. The departure of the SuperSonics has certainly been rougher than just about any relocation in sports history, and over 15 years later, there's still not a light at the end of the tunnel. The future of Seattle basketball is definitely up in the air right now, but one thing's for sure, once there's $1 to be made in Seattle, it won't be too long until a ball is on the ground once again. Thank you for watching if you made it this far, and I'll see you boys in the next one.
Hey, WVid from Swiss County. I honestly think that they should bring back the Seattle SuperSonics. It would be nice to see basketball in Seattle. I don't know. For some reason, I just feel like if they put an expansion team, I would much rather see one in Seattle than somewhere in like Vegas. Or I think I seen Mexico City was another one of those. They might throw a team over there, but nah, Seattle just seems right. I don't know. Let me know down below if you guys agree, if what you guys think. Should they add a new expansion team to the NBA? If they do, where should they put it? Let me know. Leave a like on this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Fuck with your boy. I'm gonna catch you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.